Okay, first things first, I would like to do a volume check. Let me know if you guys can hear me. I have the volume at certain outputs, but I can switch them if I need to, so if I sound too quiet, let me know. Not receiving. So maybe if I... Let's try that. Turn it up. Okay. One right here. I've cranked up the volume about halfway more. Does that sound better? Also, how's the connection? I'm getting a notification that the stream might not be running as smoothly. All right. About 75%. About 75% of what it is now, or... Okay. Okay. It's at about 75% of its maximum. I can crank it up to maximum. Would that be better? Troubleshooting the stream. All right. I've cranked the volume to the max, so that's about as much as I can do. I'll begin the stream now and see how it goes from there. So, welcome to my first live stream. This is Bonus Topics. My name is Josh, and I am a novice creator. One of the first things that I'd like to do on this channel is to help anyone who's interested in beginning their art journey to learn how to start drawing and all of that. So that's what this is about. Later on, I'll do videos on various other topics involving writing, storytelling, running games, tabletop games, because I am a game master, things like that. Generally anything in the creative sphere. So, the title of this video, Teach Yourself Art in 3 Easy Lessons, and a lot of practice. I've been practicing art since about a year ago, and over that time, I've learned of the 3 basic pillars of what one begins to learn when they start. These are the 3 basic things that you would learn in art school, or so I've been told, and I've been told that it's about 70% of what you need to know to get started. So, step number 1 is 3D objects. I've got my sketchbook here, and I'll switch to another camera to show you guys. How so?
I don't know what happened. The sound just stopped. We were trying to text you.
Can everyone hear me? I can hear myself through the headphones. I must not have been close enough to the camera, to the microphone. Technical difficulties aside, the second step after three-dimensional shapes is to practice lines. Now, this is the most tedious of the steps, and one that I haven't tried very much, but trying it at least once can give you an idea of what I call triggered discipline. Many artists who haven't practiced this find that they feel as if they have a shaky hand. So whenever they draw a line, it's not exactly straight, it's kind of a little squiggly, and you can't really help yourself, right? So to fix that, what you do is you practice a lot of lines. And I'll draw up here on the big sheet. So, the practice method is you draw a short line as best as you can. That one was terrible. And then you draw over the line again and again. That's very difficult to see, actually. I think I'll switch to a different camera. Here we go. Okay. Now, the third and final lesson is on perspective. This is a very important thing if you are working in a team of artists on something like animation or storyboarding, because drawing it in perspective reduces the amount of work that your peers have to do later on. So, say you storyboard something and it's not in perspective, right? You've got an image of a scene. If you hand that off to the animator, then the animator has to basically do that storyboard frame again, but in perspective. Perspective is also generally helpful for art. Very, very helpful. Yeah. So, go. Yes. In order to practice perspective, there are 3 types of perspective: 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and 3-point perspective. I have this giant ruler here, which I'm going to use on this big piece of paper, and I'm going to create a 1-point perspective and then give you guys an example of how drawing in perspective works and what the practice looks like. I hope that wasn't too loud. Can everyone see that? Could look for a Sharpie to make it darker. I tried my best to get the camera perspective right on all of these, but next stream, well, before next stream, I'll have to see if I can get this camera closer to the page here so we can see sketching better. Alright, so I'm going to leave for just a moment so I can grab a black Sharpie. I'll be right back. All right. These lines definitely aren't going to be as straight. Terrible. Alright, that looks like it shows up much better. So, this here is 1-point perspective. The vanishing point is at the very center of the frame here, and then all of these lines come out. Now, the idea is, when you practice perspective, that generally it's cubes and rectangles, and you're following the lines so that you can the lines guide you to create a three-dimensional shape in perspective. So, as you can see, someone without three-dimensional practice wouldn't realize that a shape that looks like this from this perspective has this kind of odd shape to it. So if you practice in perspective, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, then you'll begin to build a muscle memory in your mind that will apply to more complex shapes. So if you can imagine the basic shape of a hand is basically a bunch of rectangles and this kind of flattish square. The more you practice, the more your mind is able to capture those basic shapes and turn them into a complex holistic image. And then three-dimensional practice takes those basic shapes and it makes it so that it's a much more dynamic image. Now, I've got some pieces with three-dimensionality to them from when I've been practicing 3D perspective. Going to switch cameras. that is basically all I had for this stream, but I can see, yes, I can see we've got about half an hour left. I'd like to do streams that are about an hour long, so if any of you would like to continue watching, then I'll show you guys just my art journey and what it looked like. Was everyone able to hear me while I was in that other camera? I noticed that I might have set things up wrong with the other camera, and it might not be capturing the microphone. Recommended bitrate. I'd hate to think that I was explaining things, but nobody was hearing, so all you were seeing was me just flipping through pages and gesturing. Alright. Might need to do a little bit of troubleshooting. Paste. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. I was speaking to you guys that whole time, but you couldn't hear me in the other camera. Here we go. Gotta find my page again. Here it is. Okay. So, as I was saying, basically the most salient points of what I was describing was instead of watching YouTube videos where I wasn't able to divide my attention between watching the video and actually doing the art, I used another method. I went to an image aggregation site like Pinterest. So I went to Pinterest. Artists have a lot of quick little tutorials that you can look at and just start drawing immediately. So I have just a board with a bunch of little tutorials. So I'd try one artist's technique, see how that went. Whichever one worked best, I'd practice with that one until I got it down. What I was showing with the ugly legs here was that I was trying to be overly detailed. I was being too detailed with it. And it taught me the difference between drawing a thing and drawing the idea of a thing. So these legs, they're much simpler, and it activates the gestalt in the human mind, our desire to find patterns and fill in the gaps of something. Yeah. And what I was pointing out here was the knees. As I was practicing legs, something interesting is that as the leg bends, the knee begins to protrude more in this very odd fashion. So yeah, every time I switch to a new body part, practice and practice until I get to the point where I can draw one on my own, without any reference or anything at all. I just see it in my mind, put it on the paper. That's when I know I'm done. This one here, this was another dream. This one did not turn out as well. It was a horse with a magnificent, huge mane and this braided tail, but I wasn't very good at drawing horses back then, so different drawings of feet, and then I moved on to arms here. These ones look absolutely monstrous. Yes, I think this is the point where I got arms down. Now, this doesn't necessarily follow the anatomy of the arm, because the upper arm here, it doesn't show the shape of the bicep or the tricep or any of that, but there's just something about this technique where it kind of goes in and it's very smooth, and that worked for me. So then I tried torsos, male torso, female torso, and then I went on to heads. This is my first head here. I tried it with a face first, and that didn't work very well. You'll see later on that I kind of unlocked the key to faces, but even after that, I still need practice. Heads from different angles. Something really interesting here is the idea of finding ways to draw different faces, right? So one suggestion that I saw an artist make was to take basic shapes like circles, squares, triangles, and kind of imagine a person's face with that general shape in mind. So the one on the left is a more circular kind of face. The one on the right is a more rectangular kind of face. And what you can almost do is you can draw the basic shape itself instead of the face, and then follow that shape to create a new face. And then once you get practice with that, you can take two different shapes, kind of combine them, and get a shape that's maybe a little circular and triangular, or a little rectangular and circular, things like that. This one is a very good technique. This one's called the coil technique. So I think I'll show this one. Here we go. Here it is. Yes. So with the coil technique, it's a way of quickly laying out the three-dimensional shape of something. So it works very well with horns, right? So here's just just a general face. He's here. And what you do is you make a spiral at the right angle. Perspective practice can really help with this, but I didn't need perspective practice to understand and learn it well. So let's say the person's head is a little tilted here. You'd kind of create this spiral and keep it going, and then the spiral gets smaller and smaller. And what this is doing is it's giving you a basic guide for how to draw the actual lines of what you're doing. So here it's very easy to just take this, take that, and now we've got a character with a horn. Yep. Gotta flip back to the page. Here it is. Yes. So, You can imagine a lot of different things with the coil technique. So this might be a cyclone here, or this could be some kind of a pipe in a pipe system. Obviously, I drew some more complex horns using the coil technique. And this one, I tried to do a snake. That didn't quite work, but it was fine. Another great thing that you can use the coil technique for is limbs. So if you're unsure of how an arm would look at a certain angle from the body, or a leg would look at in a certain pose,